So, Lily, are you going to kick us off?
Sure. Hey, children. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our IG Live, LinkedIn Live, Podcast Live, whatever this is that we do every month. We're here talking today about the sponsorship budget cycle, and we felt like it would make sense to do that today because it's September, almost October, almost Q4. So a lot of y'all are either wanting to think about next year, and you should be thinking about next year if you are, or you're working on events right now and you're trying to think what can I do in terms of sponsorship. So we wanted to go over the budget cycle and kind of talk through it, just because I think it's a lot of things that people don't understand about it, and a lot of times you won't unless you are in that position to work the sponsorship budget. So we are here to talk through that.
I'm wondering if it's the distance because I see in the chat that somebody is saying that is back. Is it back now? Is it back if I move y'all all the way over here? And then I just got to like move my head side to side. But we'll do quick introductions. I'm Enovia Bedford, the founder of VetDeck, which is a multicultural marketing agency and sponsorship technology platform where we take data, turn it into insights to help people make better decisions about who they pitch to for sponsorship so we can narrow down check size, the amount of time it takes for people to respond to emails, get things done, and put you on a better path to securing sponsorship. I am also the co-founder of the Concierge, which I founded with Lily Doxy. Intro.
Hi, I am Lily Doxy, and I am the founder of the Sponsorship Concierge, which is not tech-based like VetDeck is. We don't know nothing, but we know sponsorship. I feel like it's more like educational based because I feel like I find myself educating people more on the sponsorship process, pitching, how to make their decks, influencers on media kits, all that jazz. So a lot of what I do is teaching and sometimes do it for you services. So more to come on that because we don't know, we might be pivoting. And I am also co-founder of the Concierge. Novi and I came together because we got a lot of clients who reach out to us for pitching. And it's not always our easiest thing to do on our own. So we figured two heads are better than one. Here we are.
Yeah, and honestly, people be stressing us out and we need somebody to cry in a corner too. Can y'all still hear me? Am I better now? Social in the city? Are my lips just moving but you can't hear me? Or can y'all hear me on the Insta Live? Put a 1 if you can hear me. And then we're gonna make this a quick short one.
I was saying, hey, y'all, because I just finally see the comments. I'm like, all right, they Black, but they listen. We love y'all so much.
Yeah, I wish my StreamYard would like really let me connect and like.
We're going to get it eventually, one of these months.
We're going to get it. Like, basically, we come up with the topics and then we're like, okay, let's figure it out. Okay, good. I'm good. Okay, so right now, marketing departments. So along with our companies, I act as marketing departments for brands. I consult as well as Lily, and then also for what we do for our clients at the Concierge, where we actually pitch. And the conversations that we're having are the same conversations that we would be having if we were marketers, but on the other side. Right now is when we are thinking about our budgets for next year, right? So those people that are hitting us up, that are coming to us like, I have an event in 2 months. It's like, okay, but because right now we're talking about stuff for next year. So right now, I'm negotiating with one brand all of 2024, starting Black History Month, starting with February and going throughout the year. I'm negotiating other things for June and beyond. So right now is really when marketing departments are setting their clear objectives and their priorities. So they're defining their marketing goals, and that's really where that budget cycle begins. Setting those measurable objectives, and they should align with those overall business goals, right? So I know Instagram has tricked us into believing that marketers' jobs are really fun, which they are, but we stay in spreadsheets. We are we're in numbers, we're in spreadsheets, we're in meetings about hitting goals. And part of being a good marketer is definitely prioritizing those initiatives, right? So if I'm the marketing manager, if I'm the marketing director, if I'm a VP, if I'm a CMO, we're having those internal conversations about, okay, not all, marketing activities are going to receive equal funding. Then we have to allocate and we have to prioritize. And when we're looking at our budget, right? The currently, well, the last company that the budget I was going to say was is overall budget, but so say I have a $5 million marketing budget, right? I already probably have more than half of that earmarked to specific things that I do year after year. When I worked with the restaurant group here and I was marketing director, it was me, it was the vice president, and it was the CEO. So I was that chain of command that could make decisions. Some of our deals were 10-year long sponsorship deals, right? So like if you're working with stadiums, if you're working with large entities, you could have a 5 to 7 to 10 year deal, right? When we think about lease properties that have leases, have 20-year leases, it can be very similar with sponsorship depending on the size and the size of the deal. So I already know that $2 million is going to that. I already know that I have to pay, I got to pay this stadium $250,000 every year. I know that I have to pay, these things that we do year over year. I know that our regular marketing budget is going to be XYZ, right? We have a certain amount of events. Where Halloween was a huge deal. Halloween was a huge deal at almost all 50 locations. So I know that year after year, right? I'm doing my 2024 budget. I already know the month of October, my budget is going to be $200,000 because I have to account for this, right? So we're earmarking all of the things that we know that we always are going to have to do. And that's really when prioritizing the initiatives comes in, and then allocating the resources accordingly. So once those priorities are established, then we allocate the rest of the budget to other things. So that could be marketing channels, campaigns, activations, in-store promos. I've worked for beverage brands. I've worked with all of the ladies are back. Oh, you could watch the LinkedIn live on my on Enovia Bedford on my LinkedIn page. But so we know that we're going to allocate all of these, these dollars, marketing events, right? I worked for a beverage company. So not only did we have to do in-store promos, right, with alcohol stores, we were doing in-store promos with grocery stores if we were in grocery stores, right? So we're doing grocery stores, we're doing restaurants, we're doing events. And so event marketing, it was really coming in last in the fold of things. And now with influencer marketing, it's kind of neck and neck. So Lily, I'm gonna toss it over to you because I know what you're gonna say about that allocation and who some of that money goes to.
Yes, I definitely agree. And I think a lot of it is based on the type of company that you're working for or that you're reaching out to, and what their budgets look like. Because like Enovia was saying, sponsoring like a stadium or something like that. I worked for a company that sponsored the NFL. So there was standard money that would someone who just managed just NFL stuff. So we would not even see that kind of money that goes in because they have suites at all these stadiums. They have like tickets that they would give out to clients that would come in. That's money that goes out. So when you think about all that money that they put in that bucket, think about what's left. So we would have that kind of like the NFL sponsorship money because that's probably like the biggest sponsorship that was there. And then you think of the things that we do every year, like CES or like those big tech conferences, where they're going to do it regardless whether it was a great year or not. It's something that they're always going to do. So there's always money for it. They even do things like, it's not necessarily sponsorship, but like employee recognition that comes out of that bucket too, because it's a lot of times it's events. So they have that bucket there. And then when you think about how companies are organized, a lot of the companies are organized by region. So each region would have a certain amount of money that they could do with certain things. And each region probably had their thing that they were going to do every single year. Like there might be an earmark that maybe the president of that region was like, you know what, this is my favorite thing. We're going to do it every single year. So we
you know what you want to say. You want to say the president is sponsoring the Little League.
They are. And we have to do it. And even if it's not necessarily giving an ROI to the company, it's the person in charge likes it, so we do it. But it's always earmarked, like Enovia said, for it. And then after that, it trickles down to, okay, so this is what we have for events. And a lot of times the event budget isn't that big because sometimes they're like, a lot of companies don't always think event first. A lot of them think, okay, how are we just going to affect our bottom line? They don't think events affect their bottom line. So a lot of times their event budget isn't that big. So when you are reaching out to people for money and for sponsorship, it's not always the marketing people who have the money for you. It might be a different department that might have the money for you because events doesn't always get the money. Another one thing I do want to highlight is that we sometimes do get like a little discretionary or like a slush fund in case there's something that's not earmarked. There's a little bit of flexibility throughout the year to say like, oh yeah, makes for a really good event, or this makes for a really good thing to sponsor. Let's do it because we have that little extra money for it. So there is extra money sometimes, but it has to be worth it. And I think we say that a lot, that when you're reaching out for something, a lot of times they can make it work if it's worth it and if it fits them. But a lot of times the resources sometimes are pulled very thin. Sometimes it's like one marketing manager who is doing everything. And they don't always have the budget to do everything. So it's not, so when you're looking on the other side for you pitching your event or you pitching your project, how is your project going to stand out amongst all the millions of projects that they're getting for this one bucket of money?
And getting to learn some of those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for example, CES. People spend a lot of money in CES. My first CES was, I didn't have a child then. My last CES was 10 years ago. I was one of the only Black people that I saw at CES. And I was like, wow, this is a great opportunity. So one of the things that I did do in CES is going forward, seeing that, AT&T, Verizon, Google, all these companies had huge budget, is reached in and say, how can I partner with them? Because they're already spending money here, right? So we ended up hosting a luncheon where they invited their employees. We were able to get them to pay for it, and walk with a check, because we know where their budget is. So if your budget is going here, and I know your budget is going to CES, and I can make it just a little bit easier for you, right? Because like Lily said, it's usually a small team of people working on this. So if I come and I'm like, all right, well, your CES, like, if you've never been to CES, you can Google it, huge sprawling activations, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, to fly a team out to build the activations, companies are paying $500,000 at CES, right?
Show up, basically.
Yeah, companies are paying $500,000, right? Like some of the bigger teams, Google sends like 100 people. It's crazy, right? So if I know that you have this money, I know you got something in there for me, right? I know I could probably get you to give me, y'all are going to have some kind of after party. Y'all are going to have something. Y'all might be looking for an event organizer, somebody to take that on. I know I could get probably $20,000-$25,000 out of you to make your job easier, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one way to look at it. Look at events and see who they are, like what the standard things they sponsor are, right? There's stuff that we know every year. I'm going to CBCF tomorrow. If anybody's going to be in DC, let me know, right? CBCF is one of those things that, right? On the event side, there are some things, but I know what brands are going to be there. I know that FedEx is going to be there every year. I know UPS is going to be there. I know Verizon is going to have a thing there. I know Google is going to have their brunch, which is happening right now. I like at the Robinhood headquarters. Like I know that standard things are going to happen within these budgets. So you know how to do a budget for your company and start using that hat to think about how other companies budget. So one of the things that we do is budget forecasting. So marketing departments, we analyze historical data and the market trends to forecast the budget required for upcoming initiatives, right? So we include costs for creative development, advertising, technology, staffing, all of that is in there. So I know that if I need to reach 15,000 new customers, I can look at data from before and tell me how much I need to put to that. So while y'all over here asking me to sponsor y'all event, if your event is not going to get me to them 15,000 people that I need, and now like, so that $5 million budget I took, right? Me and Lily have whittled that down to about $3 million with all of those earmarked things, with all of the staffing, with all of that. So we got $2 million left. Like Lily said, it's regional. So where I was responsible for North Carolina, South Carolina, parts of Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee. That's 5 states. $2 million across 5 states is not a lot of money. Mm-mm. What is that? $400,000 or something like that? It is not a lot of money. And then when you think, CBCF.
And that's the South too, because things cost different. Because I'm managing the Northeast. Imagine having to throw these kind of events in New York, like.
Oh, $2 million goes nowhere. Like literally my budget for New York City alone, 5 boroughs was $2 million. And then I had budget for Philly and Jersey and all those places separately. So I had $2 million across 5 states with major cities, right? Atlanta is a major city. Charlotte is a major city. And so when you start divvying that money up, that's not a lot of money, especially the Black folks portions of these budgets, right? So when I'm saying $2 million, that's $2 million for everybody. So we have to consider the climate and how things realistically are. If the budget is $2 million for marketing, Black folks let's drop that down to 10%, right? So I have $200,000 for 5 states when it comes to marketing. And if y'all are not getting me to them 15,000 people I talked about, chances are slim that I'm going to sponsor your event. So the budget categories are typically divided into things like personnel expenses, advertising and promotion, technology and tools, miscellaneous, events. Now we have influencers and think about it like this. There's always a software that marketers want to try. When I tell you with that, so now that $2 million that we've whittled down to like 200,000 for Black people, y'all might be able to get some of that other money, but there's software that I want to try. There's conferences that I want to attend. There's things that I want to go to. There's people that I've been talking to for a year that I want to sponsor their event. So that's why this time of the year is so highly important, because now marketing teams are having those conversations. And if you can penetrate that and start being able to talk to them while they're getting ready for next year, the budget won't be finalized until November, December. But so if you're having these conversations and what you're saying is hitting their goals, like one of the brands that I'm talking to now, one of the large brands, I pitched one client and for an event this year for October, and they came back and they were like, this is not going to work. Do they do it next year? And what else do you have? So I've been able to expand that conversation because they're like, that's the demographic that we want to reach, but we don't got to reach them this year. We got to reach them next year. And then there's the budget revision portion. So throughout the cycle, marketing departments have to remain flexible and make adjustments as needed, because like Lily said, at some point in time, the CEO is going to come, or the VP or the president is going to come, and they're going to throw things at us, and they're going to be like, oh, there's this event, so we have to have that buffer money, right? Yep. So let's take that 2 million, right? And let's drop that 2 million automatically down to 1.5 million, because we need that 500,000 of buffer room for people in the company that are going to come to us, right? Yep. So we got Marge over here in HR that we want to stay cool with, right? We got this person over here who's responsible for our raise that we want to stay cool with. So when they come to us and they're like, oh, this event came to me, my such and such is having this event. That's 500,000 that's hanging out there. We're like, oh, okay, well, we got $20,000 for them. We got this for them, because there's still all the politics in the company depending on the size, right? So now we've taken that 2 million in marketing budget, we've narrowed it down to 1.5 million. And now the Black folks, we only going to get 10% of that, right? So we've narrowed that down to $150,000 that I had for 5 states.
That sounds very accurate. And if it's like a popular Black event, that's it. Sorry.
They're going to get it. If a popular Black event comes, and I'm not Enovia, I'm another kind of marketer of a different persuasion, and I have $150,000 and I know that they can do it, I'm going to give them that entire money, and I'm going to be like, okay, check the box. My job is done.
Yep.
My job is done. Yep. Right. So when we think about what that timeline is, right, of course, it's aligned with the fiscal year and the specific planning period, and it aligns with the funds that are being allocated. So when we think about big things, one of the things now that you guys should be pitching actively is Black History Month, because every brand under the sun forgets it exists until January.
They're going to be scrambling,
but it's earmarked in their budget. They're going to put, okay, we have $100,000 for Black History Month. We might not know what it is. So if you start talking to them now about it, then they'll know what it is. They'll be like, oh, those Black people pitch such and such and such to me. Let me get them in here, for the Negro History Month, right? Let's get them in here for Black History Month, because every January I get the emails. Like mid-December towards the end, and definitely the beginning of January, the new year, they'd be like, oh my God.
Because they just remember.
We forgot about y'all because we've been trying to get through the holidays. We've been trying to get through everything. So that's one place that has a little bit of leeway when it comes to the budgeting, but you definitely want to start having them conversations.
Yeah, I agree. And I think to that point, for you who are sponsorship seekers, I would say make yourself super searchable, because I vividly remember always around this time, we were always looking for new stuff to do. And we would be literally in Google putting in criteria. Let's say I'm looking for Black entrepreneurs. I would type in Black entrepreneurs events near me. Make yourself searchable, at least make your website updated, because that's literally where we're looking for stuff. If people aren't pitching us, we're going to be looking. And even when people are pitching us, we're looking for new stuff. We're always looking for new things to do. That's not.
I honestly would rather Google and pick my own event than take a pitch from someone. And I don't know if I'm the only marketer that's that way. Um, but it's something in my head. It's because like, even if they send it, like I'll research them, but it's something about researching them first and then having a conversation. I don't know if it feels like it gives me leverage or whatever it is, but make sure that your Instagrams are up to par. And literally, like Lily said, Google, this is part of what I do for my Google workshops. Like when I need stuff to plug into Google, I go to Google and I look for Black business owners. Right now, we're doing something for Hispanic Heritage Month. And I'm like, oh, who can I partner with? Like, North Carolina. And that's how I'm operating. It's not that people are actively necessarily pitching me for Hispanic Heritage Month because they don't know that they should or they could, but it's what I'm actively looking for. Go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a thing. And so it does help to make sure your social media is up to date, at least, because I used Instagram a lot to find people to sponsor. It's not like I'm always like, okay, I need a sponsor, but I was looking for unique events and new events that I knew would make an impact, that I knew had the target audience I wanted, and I knew they wouldn't fail me, if you know what I'm saying. Like,
that's the biggest thing.
Like if I could see evidence of the type of events that you do, like via social media or on your website, that definitely helps me have a case that I can literally snatch the pictures off there and make a mini presentation for myself to my boss and say like, oh, this event does this is what they've done, this is who attended. These are the kind of things that I can do without you even pitching me. So it does help to have an updated website, updated Instagram, updated socials, whatever it is, because people are looking for y'all. Whether you think they're not, they are. And if you want the people you want to find you, make yourself searchable. Make sure you're using things that people would definitely type in to look for you. I know people don't always use hashtags, but a lot of brands use hashtags to find people.
Brands.
They use it as almost like a Google on Instagram. So
yeah,
keep up with your hashtags until they delete them forever. Make sure your Google SEO is up, because that's where we're looking for people.
I'm gonna get to your question, Miss Jess. We got one more point to get through, and then we're gonna open it up. Evelyn on LinkedIn said, and we all know a lot of these diversity campaigns fall flat. And that kind of
it do.
And that brings us to the next point of regular monitoring, right? So the monitoring, reporting, and adjustment portion of the budget is so important, because that's where we scoop up dollars there. So hold on. I'm almost done. And then you can vacuum. I'm sorry, my house is getting clean, y'all. And I just hear back. I don't know. Could you hear it, Lily?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. just hold a second. So the monitoring. So as marketing departments, we continuously monitor the performance campaigns and figure out if it's working, right? So that's why testing is so important. That's why people do a lot of A/B testing when it comes to ads. It's basically the same thing. Rochelle said fall flat on the face. Yep. It's basically the same thing when we're doing our budget and then budget revisions. So we remain flexible still. And if something is underperforming, we reallocate some money. So if we see that something is like not quite working and we have a chance to kind of not necessarily pull out, but also kind of pull out, we will. And then we'll be looking for someplace else to put that money. And things happen. We just had a sponsorship deal the other day that at the last minute, the client decided to go to school. But
piss me off. I don't want to talk about it.
The client decided to pull at the last minute, right? But that gave one of our other clients an opportunity to come in and snatch that up, and she killed it. So now we have a long-term conversation going on with her, because she was able to come in, right? The brand is happy, we're happy, but the brand had to be able to be flexible and pivot. They could have been like, no. They could have been like, no, this is for this particular thing. But as marketers, we have to stay flexible. We have to stay agile. We have to be able to pivot and to be able to move. And that's sometimes where you can also capture marketing dollars. Like there was that concert last year that Bacardi was like a main sponsor for, and people were hitting me up because they know that that I've done some work with Bacardi. It was like the Afro Festival, something. And it was like the performers were canceling, and it was like a whole thing. We did a podcast on it, Lily.
Oh, we probably did, yeah.
It was something.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Whatever it was, right? That's a case that they could have, it's too late in their cycle, right? They did the event, but now they probably earmarked that money again for these people for the next year, because they assumed that it was going to do well. They assumed that it was going to be great. So now that's money that you could potentially snatch up if you know how to do it, right? So keep in mind that, budgets are definitely somewhat flexible, but now is the time that you definitely want to be connecting with them. And, they're writing their reports. And if you are receiving sponsorship dollars, making sure. I've had 6 calls, Lily, I got to catch you up on new clients this week with people, and nobody has case studies and nobody has recaps. Nobody. And I'm like, well, what are you doing to this brand? Why are they going to sponsor you again? What are they supposed to walk into their boss's office with? What are they supposed to tell the boss that they got out of this? Like, you have to do the follow-up work. It is as important as showing up well at the event and doing what you're supposed to do. I worked with Arizona Iced Tea on several activations, and it was because on that first activation I did with them, I sent them a recap. And the VP of marketing sent me an email, and she was like, you will always be able to ask me for whatever you want because nobody has sent me a recap. And I'm like, are you serious? And she's like,
same thing. I sponsored somebody again just because they sent me a recap deck. I was like, you know what? You make my job easier. Let me make
my job easier. Now I can, what's funny? One of my friends who was at Makers they were having their one of their meetings. She's no longer there, so I could say this because nobody's gonna get in trouble. But they were having a meeting, and it was basically an all hands on, multiple regions, everybody call, 100-something people on the call. And she's like, why are you in this deck, Enovia? And I'm like, because I do my job and I do my job well. And now y'all are using me as a case study of how my clients behave and the work that we do. So many people don't do recaps. So I'm just going to speed down those points for y'all one more time before we get into some questions. So right now is the time budget cycles are going. It's the planning and strategy development portion of it. Marketers are heavy in their fields when it's coming to these budgets. They have that earmark stuff that they are automatically going to spend, but there's some flexibility. So connect with the marketers that that you've previously worked with now, so you can be at top of mind. So that's 1. 2, implementation and activation. They're allocating their funds. I lied. That's not what number 2 is. Number 2 is, I'm scrolling wrong. Creating a detailed budget. That was the last one. So now they're creating their detailed budget, and you should too. You should know how much your event costs. I'm looking at everybody in the eyes. How much money your event costs is realistic. You should have that money sitting someplace, right? Because sponsorship is icing on the cake. Sponsorship is not how you should be fully funding your events ever, period. We'll do a whole talk on that. And then number 3 is the monitoring and reporting. Once they start monitoring and reporting those deals, you will have an opportunity to scoop up some of those additional funds. I've said so many people don't do recaps yet. She said, I'm really surprised that a recap is not part of the scope. It's sometimes they fall flat. And sometimes people can think that you saw pictures on Instagram. You went to my Instagram and you saw the pictures. That's not enough recap. Like, we do real detailed recaps. So Lily, I'm gonna toss this question to you from Miss Jess. Can you discuss what a good pitch looks like?
Ooh, a good pitch. I think a good pitch incorporates a couple of things. First, the initial way that you reach out to them helps. So if you're doing email, right? I don't think it should be this long, drawn out email because they're not going to read it. I think bullet points are helpful to have. So like when I'm skimming through it, I can easily pick out things that attract my eye, like maybe the audience size or how big the event is or where it's going to be, or if you've done it before, what the results were from that. So quick things that I can easily pick out. And if I can find a benefit for myself, for that company from that initial pitch, I'm going to want to talk to you further. I also wouldn't send the deck initially just because sometimes the spam things delete them. And sometimes I don't want to see it because I want something a little bit more custom for me. I'd rather you get a chance to talk to them and hear out what they're actually looking for. Because what you think might be a good sponsorship package might not work for them because that's not their actual goal. So when you actually get a chance to talk to them, draw out for them what they actually need and not what you think they should do, because what you think they should do might not fit their agenda. And you want to give them what they need because they're going to pay for what they need. So getting their goals is super helpful because you can take that back and adjust your sponsorship package for them to match what they literally just said to you and make it so much easier for them to say yes. So I think crafting that initial pitch email is super important because that's your first gateway. Because if you've never spoken to them before and it's like a cold pitch, that's their first introduction to you. So if you just introduce them with this whole essay and thesis about why they should sponsor your event.
Text walls, please.
Because like y'all be doing a whole thesis defending your PhD for nothing. I'm not gonna read that. Like, give me something quick that I could easily boom, 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 just easily pick out, because I'm not reading all of that. If it's too long, even before I even see the words, I see too many words, I'm not reading it. I might read it later on and it's too late. But if I'm in the process of checking email, for those of y'all who work in corporate, we get emails all the time. Y'all know we get emails all the time. How many times do you want to sit in this email? This is a great, fantastic event for you to do this, that, and the. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care. Give me numbers, tell me what the event's about, and ask me if we want to talk.
That's it. Rochelle says, say it again. Sponsorship is icing on the cake. It's not the ingredients. It's not the cakes and the mix and the eggs. That's your money.
Because why would you put on an event you can't do yourself without sponsorship, especially if you're not at the place where you can just solely depend on sponsorship? Because there's events that can do that because they've proven themselves over the amount of times that they've done it, that they're always going to deliver. So they're always going to have sponsors consistently. If you're not there, why are you depending on only sponsors to put on your event? Why are you putting on the event? If you thought, okay, I'm gonna get sponsors, I'm gonna do it.
Girl, they want people.
If they're not paying for it, scale back, put on a great event at the scale that you can do, and then just use that as your case for the next year to get some money. Like, be for real, guys.
Struggle bus events are not cute. And we get it all the time. People are like, I want to have this event. And I ask their budget and they're like, it's $500,000. And I'm like, do you have $500,000? And they're like, no. So you're doing this event for the very first time. And you want a brand to come and give you $500,000. You want a brand to come and give you $100,000. You want a brand to come and believe in you so much that you've never spoken to and give it. It's the Delulu for me. Like, sponsorship is the land of the Delulus. It is a very delusional place to be. Love all our clients, but we definitely have to ground them and bring them back to, what reality is. What I will add about the email is your subject line.
Yes.
Let me tell you, I am a subject line stickler. If I don't like your subject line, I am not opening up your email, period, point blank. I don't want to see it. Like, if your email is event sponsorship request, I'm not opening it because I don't know what this is. Events, what kind of event? What are you doing, right? If there's something, what are you doing? Okay, is it a dog show? Is it a nighttime party? Is it a brunch? Is it what time of year is it? Like, I'm just not opening it. You know why? Because 100 other people have sent me emails that say sponsorship requests, and I don't know what any of this means. So I delete them. That's what I did. I would delete them. As a marketer, they're going in the trash. I would do keyword searches for what I'm looking for, right? So if I'm looking for women events, I would go in my email. And if you're not matching that, off the rip, I'm probably deleting it, right? So when people are like, oh, we're not getting responses because we pitch them, we don't always get responses, but we get more responses than y'all. Yeah.
When I see it, it feels like it's begging. Like for real? Are you really begging me right now?
That's how I feel. So a strong subject line, right? So if you already have if you have a main sponsor or somebody else that's kind of coming into the event and you can leverage them, use that, right? So we did a bunch of events with Airbnb. So I would put in there, like, event in partnership with Airbnb, looking for additional support in or whatever. Put the date, put some other information. Because if I am at, let's say I'm at Grey Goose because I have a Grey Goose thing and we just, we have done a fun activation for them the last couple of months. Say I'm at Grey Goose and I get an email that says sponsor, sponsorship event request or I hate when people tell me it's an opportunity. I hate when I get emails and you telling me it's opportunity for me. I'm like, is it though?
Like, you need me, actually.
It sounds like you're begging me for money. It's not an opportunity for me because I can go anywhere, right? So say I'm Grey Goose and I get an email and that says sponsorship opportunities. I'm not opening it. But say I get an email that says event in partnership with Airbnb looking for alcohol partnership. I see Airbnb, I'm going to open it because that's only going to get me further along the way in my goal. Leverage the things that you have to make a really good, impactful subject line is step number one, because you're not even going to get to the meat and the bullet points if you don't.
Yeah.
Evelyn says, I feel attacked. I always tell clients to customize their subject lines, but I'm lacking myself.
Not attacked, child. It's okay. We all have messed up. And all we're doing here is learning. We're learning still too.
We're learning. And we got time for one more question before we jump. So either Instagram or LinkedIn Live, what you want to know.
I got work to do after this.
Yeah, we have our work sessions on Thursdays. So this is when we go through all of our clients and all of our pitches and share our wins and our good news about client stuff and share our woo girl, what we gonna do?
Dream. Talk about quitting.
Right. Time and time again. No more questions? I know somebody got a question somewhere. Mm, mm, mm. Amber, you don't have no questions? Amber said Negro History Month rolling on the floor. Yes. All right, y'all. If y'all not taking advantage of the question session portion, I'm gonna ask one more time. Okay.
Period.
That's it. We've done our job. If y'all have no questions. Oh, we got a question. How far in advance should you send out the pitch? So I think that okay, Amber asked you a question about the recap in the chat box. So I think that you have to not think about it as a pitch and think about it as how far in advance do you need to start setting up that relationship, right? Because that's what you're really doing. So we pitch in a 3 to 6 month time period, but depending, we've already started some of the conversations. So some brands that I'm working with now, I started talking to them 2 years ago, just in general, right? Just building that relationship. But if you're just going to be specifically pitching, I think 6 months is perfect. They might tell you it's too early to come back. But also it might not be too early. I also think so now is a time of the year that you're building those relationships. You're reaching out to these brands now and asking them what those goals are for next year. Because based on the budget and how they're forming it, we know right now they're looking at their goals for next year. Yep. So now is the time you need to be talking to them because they're actively, that's on the top of their list. What are our goals for next year? How do I keep my job and not get fired? All right. Telling me that we got to reach the Black people. You telling me that we got to reach the women. Okay. You telling me that we got to be Budweiser and put a rainbow flag on the can. Like, what are our goals for next year? Yeah. And so right now, that's the conversations that we're having. We're reaching out like, hey, what are y'all doing next year? And then we're taking we have about 14 clients on that side of the company. We're taking that and seeing what fits in what we're being told, right? So we have one brand that's hella interested in travel. So we got 4 travel clients. So we like, okay, boom, boom, boom. All the travel clients can go over here, right? Mm-hmm. We have a client that's a brand that's interested in having tastings, getting, looking in people's bodies, letting them taste a little something. So we're like, okay, boom, 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 put them over here. So right now, focus on that relationship building portion. A September surge for the sponsorship girls. Exactly. God. Tech, how everybody is hiring. It is definitely September surge vibe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For plain pitching 3 to 6 months for now, you want to know what their goals are for next year so you know what to pitch and where the money is coming from. Right. And then last one, what are the top things that should go into a recap? Lily?
Give us some numbers, please. Some numbers. So tell us how you did. So if it was like, let's say you had a virtual component plus an in-person component, how many people were on that virtual side? How many people attended? If there was a setup for that particular brand that sponsored, what's the estimate of like foot traffic that they had of people going around? What was the feedback that you've gotten from people? What was social hits? What did you guys do on social when you posted certain things? What did the hits look like? Any type of number that you can get surrounding the event and things happening around the event. You have to be intentional about doing it too, because I think people are just so focused on actually executing the event instead of thinking about the results of the event. So think about any way that you can put a number to something that's happening at the event. So let's say there was a keynote sponsored by a particular sponsor. How many people attended that? How many people, like if you have to have somebody in the front doing a clicker thing or have people walk in the front and tap like I'm here. How many people were able to actually attend that portion of the event? Were you able to get feedback from those people at the event? If you are doing this event, have some people on foot to just ask people quick survey questions that they can easily answer that you can throw into the deck. Awesome pictures is always a great thing to see, like pictures with the sponsor's logo or product or whatever they gave you. Have some pictures there. Some video is super helpful too. But I definitely say numbers. I think when I received the sponsorship recap deck, my favorite thing was seeing how many people actually streamed the event as opposed to in person. And you could see kind of how big that impact was, because it was so much more people. Because obviously, if it's an event in one region, anyone can watch it anywhere. So seeing how many people were able to stream the event and be in person was super impactful. Seeing how our table did in terms of foot traffic was super helpful. They were able to also get people to give feedback on what tables they visited, what booths they visited, what activations they liked. That was great feedback for us, because we could see what other people did. And we're like, oh, maybe we should have done that a little bit better. Or maybe we did really well with this. We can do that at another event. So ways to help them do better the next year is super helpful when it comes to recap.
Absolutely. And talking to the brands and seeing what their ROI is and if they've hit their goals, right? So we talked about Grey Goose, right? So say we're doing a recap for Grey Goose. We might put in there that, oh, Colgate, I don't know why I'm thinking about Colgate, but like they also sponsored and they, said that they got X, Y, and Z out of it, right? So one of the things is that if a brand is there, we worked with brands that their goal specifically was to get more B2B business. So they were able to say, by doing this event, we've also gotten into this restaurant and this hotel and this, that, and this, that. So being able to showcase that and the recaps is also really good. Of course, you want to throw some pictures in there. You want to throw some contact info, and you want to throw some next steps in it, right? So after you get out of all your Lily numbers that you got, some cute pictures, some ROI, if there was any press attached to it, your recap doesn't have to be more than 5 pages. It can be very short. It can reiterate the demographic. You want to tell them what your next steps are. So, hey, now that you've sponsored this event and we've been successful, let's get on the phone and talk about our next one. Right. Let's figure out other ways that you can give us more checks. So you want to definitely make sure that you have that call to action, whatever it may be for you. It might be, hey, can you share this recap with another marketer that you think their brand would work good? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it depends on whatever your goals are is what needs to be that call to action.
Yeah, I think one thing I really liked from when I did receive that recap, they still followed up after the recap and say like, hey, we want to talk about next year. Let me know if you have some time, no rush. But that made me feel like, oh, they actually kind of care a little bit, And
it makes your job easier, because I'm like, cool, if I can fill these slots, that's right, this earmark stuff in the budget. If I can fill some of these with you, then my job is easy. My job is almost done.
Yep, definitely.
So, all right, y'all. It has been awesome as usual. We will be back next month with another hot topic. I think I know what it's going to be, but I can't remember. But I think I know. But also, we got to see. But Lily, do you have anything to sell today?
I don't.
As always, you can come and get curated lists from us. And then,
that.
Yeah, you know my curated list. And then VetDeck will be dropping our planner, which is 90 days to get you to sponsorship, a Black Friday drop. So it's going to be good. It's going to give you step-by-step things to do in less than 20 minutes a day to get you closer to sponsorship. So look out for that. Stay tuned. Absolutely agree. We produce a lot of boutique events for brands, and sharing the wins on KPIs really matters. Exactly.
It does.
Yeah, make sure that that Chrissy, that you connect with us and stay connected. Y'all have a beautiful Thursday. We'll see you next month.
Yes. Bye, y'all.